course, Li Xiu remembered Yun Qi saying those words. This was hardly the first time he had used such a self-devised ploy. When he first entered the abyss, his very first point of integration into this world was to attract Hellion Lingzhu by deliberately feigning grave injuries. Later, his encounter with Hua Kali saw him use this tactic to its absolute extreme. People lower their guard and feel pity when faced with the heavily wounded. This is a basic human instinct, and it is especially true for women. But Li Xiu had witnessed Yun Qi's entire journey through the abyss. His schemes had rarely failed, yet she still couldn't help but remind him. The loss of memories does not mean a simultaneous dissipation of her disposition and shrewdness. She was once the emperor of a realm. Moreover, in that desperate situation that drove you to utter despair, she saved and rewrote your life, helping you become an emperor in your own right. How could someone like her be as easily deceived as Hua Kali? Deceive. Boom. Another heavy blow from an abyssal ghost shattered and caved in all the ribs on his right side. The color drained further from his face, but the corner of his mouth twitched into a faint, sorrowful smile. Every scene in the moon memory is etched deep into my soul. The one thing I could never do to her is deceive her. Li Xiu. You're right. Even if she has lost her entire past, her heart and soul have not changed. She has simply returned to her purest, freest self. One of the greatest mistakes of my life was not trusting her back then. Now I believe with all my heart that beneath the guise of Shen Wuyi, she is still, and always will be, the heart and soul of Xia Qingyu. His figure shot forward. As his profound energy surged, the wounds all over his body burst open, scattering specks of blood behind him. Li Xiu was silent for a long time. She realized her spontaneous words had unintentionally reopened his old wounds, spreading a lingering pain through his soul sea. The silent Shen Wuyi's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. With a shift of her exquisite, profound realm, she appeared high in the distant sky. Her gaze pierced through the gray, hazy dust to see a blood-soaked figure fighting a desperate, retreating battle against two frenzied abyssal ghosts. She recognized him at a glance. It was clearly Yun Qi of the dream-weaving God Kingdom, and he was facing two Level 3 Divine Extinction Realm abyssal ghosts alone. At Eden's Cloud Summit, with his cultivation at the 4th level of the Divine Master Realm, he had defeated the Level 3 Divine Extinction Diane Sansi, an astonishing feat for any who witnessed it. But this was the God-slumbering forbidden domain, where profound energy was greatly suppressed by the abyssal dust. Facing two Level 3 Divine Extinction abyssal ghosts alone, even with his world-shocking talent in the profound way, he had little chance of victory. He fought as he retreated, fraught with peril. His body was drenched in blood, his aura in disarray, only his eyes remained as resolute as ever. He had never once reached for the void-piercing divine jade on his shoulder. Shen Wuyi's gaze swept down, her eyes as placid as still water, holding only an endless frost. Dressed in black with hair like a waterfall of ink, she silently blended into the gray, hazy sky. Yun Qi was retreating in her direction, the distance between them shrinking. With every step he took, his injuries worsened. At the same time, a crimson-gold flame began to shine from his body, growing increasingly dazzling in the dim world. Just as he neared the space below her, Yun Qi's steps suddenly halted, and he launched a sudden counterattack. His body flickered into a strange ice silhouette, appearing instantly between the two abyssal ghosts. The fire he had been gathering erupted violently, blooming into a magnificent, dazzling divine phoenix silhouette in the dim world, accompanied by a soul-shaking, prideful cry. Amidst the exploding flames, the two abyssal ghosts were sent flying, set ablaze. Yun Qi's ice silhouette flickered again, instantly closing in on one of them. With a thunderous roar, just as he had at Eden's Cloud Summit, he unleashed a divine master's power sufficient to shatter all understanding of the profound way. Boom, the abyssal ghost's body was blasted apart. At the same time, the sound of the bones in Yun Qi's left arm shattering from the backlash echoed. Yet Yun Qi seemed to feel no pain. Without giving himself a moment's respite, he lunged at the other abyssal ghost, his right hand grabbing its body. Amidst a continuous phoenix cry, the crimson-gold flames incinerated the abyssal ghost's body. This lasted for several breaths, until the second abyssal ghost also fell still. The flames gradually died down. Seemingly completely spent, Yun Qi leaned against a pitch-black abyssal rock and slowly slid into a sitting position, gasping for breath. A pool of blood quickly formed beneath him, shockingly crimson even under the shroud of dust. Long after the flames had completely extinguished, Shen Wuyi's eyes still reflected the images of ice and flame before they slowly faded. This revered one wants you to kill Yun Qi. Kill Yun Qi! Shen Wuyi's crazed shrieks echoed in her soul sea like a demonic, nightmarish sound. This was the god-slumbering forbidden domain, isolated from the outside world where no one could spy on them. Yun Qi was grievously injured, his profound energy severely depleted, leaving him with almost no strength to resist. To kill Yun Qi, there could be no more perfect time or place. The sword of absolute emotion emerged. Shen Wuyi's figure descended from the sky, a cold glint of light piercing through the layers of abyssal mist, aimed straight for Yun Qi's heart. At that moment, Yun Qi slowly looked up. Their gazes met silently in the cold light of the sword of absolute emotion. There was no shock or terror, no panic or horror. Instead, his paper-pale face actually showed a faint, yet endlessly warm, gentle smile. His bloodshot eyes looked past the sword light that sought to take his life, straight into the depths of her eyes, as if filled with infinite tenderness, unwilling to shift even a fraction. Shnk, the sword of absolute emotion, sliced a long gash in space, but it came to an abrupt halt half an inch from Yun Qi's heart. Space and time seemed to freeze. With a cold blade pointed at his heart, Yun Qi did not look down at his chest. He simply continued to stare, transfixed at her eyes. Her eyes were so exquisitely beautiful, yet so cold and desolate, like a frozen river of stars, reflecting none of the mortal world. Only a hand's breadth separated them, their auras intertwined silently. In this world, it was the first time they had ever been so close. The silent stalemate was broken by Shen Wuyi's emotionless voice. "Why didn't you flee?" The sword strike from the sky just now should have been enough for Yun Qi to sense the danger and use the void-piercing divine jade to escape. Yun Qi smiled, his gaze still fixed on her, as if unwilling to look away for even an instant. "Because I knew you wouldn't kill me." Her moon-like eyes narrowed slightly, then released a soul-chilling killing intent. The killing intent shot through the tip of the sword of absolute emotion and into Yun Qi's very soul, yet it failed to elicit the slightest tremor or fear from him. The sword light retracted, then stabbed toward Yun Qi's heart once more, this time carrying a killing intent that could pierce the heart with ice. Yun Qi finally moved. His still intact right arm reached for the void-piercing divine jade on his shoulder and then sent it flying far away. Zing! The sword of absolute emotion pierced Yun Qi's heart, but only by half an inch before it stopped dead. The overly abrupt stop caused the entire slender blade to tremble and hum. A bead of blood slowly welled up, reflected in Shen Wuyi's eyes. Her snow-white fingers gripping the sword tightened slightly. The world seemed to freeze once more. The only thing that remained unchanged was Yun Qi's expression and his gaze. Thud! The void-piercing divine jade tumbled to the ground in the distance, making a soft sound that nonetheless shook the heartstrings. Finally, Shen Wuyi furrowed her brow and avoided his direct gaze. "Just as I thought, you wouldn't kill me." Gravely injured, the color in his face was fading with every breath, but the faint smile on his lips grew warmer, more affectionate. From beginning to end, his gaze never wavered, as if he couldn't even feel the cold sword in his heart or the piercing pain. Shen Wuyi's gaze remained as indifferent as the lonely moon, now tinged with a faint mockery. To not flee from danger, but instead to place your life in another's hands, whether you're relying on your status as the god-child of dream-weaving or the abyssal emperor's favor, it is the height of foolishness. It's neither of those. Yun Qi shook his head gently. What I'm relying on is our past. What I'm relying on is my belief that even if fate is severed, memories are lost, and space and time are displaced, my Qingyu, my wife, could never truly want to kill me. Li Xiu's heart rippled. He actually... At this point, she finally understood why Yun Qi had injured himself so severely. If he hadn't, the cold and distant Shen Wuyi would never have allowed him this close, would never have spoken to him like this. Shen Wuyi's averted gaze slowly, bit by bit, returned to him. She stared into Yun Qi's eyes for several long breaths before her cold voice rang out. "What did you say?" Yun Qi reached out, his fingertip touching the tip of the sword that had pierced him half an inch deep. The beating of his heart seemed to travel along the blade and into Shen Wuyi's senses. "What am I saying? With a heart as perceptive as yours, did you truly not notice anything? The first time you saw me, didn't the stirrings in your heart tell you something?" Shen Wuyi continued to stare at him indifferently, unmoving and unspeaking. "At Eden's Cloud Summit, during the punishment of desolate gnawing, while I was doing my utmost to resist, I was also focusing as much of my attention on you as I could. I sensed your confusion, and I even noticed the occasional flicker of pain on your face and the glance you threw my way as you left." Yun Qi's eyes curved into a smile. Gravely injured, a sword pointed at his heart, he was actually smiling with such joy. His eyes were filled with a warm haze, as if reflecting a gentle moon. "My king, you, even after I failed you, after I hurt you, even after fate was overturned and you forgot everything, you would still feel heartache for me. So how could you bear to kill me?" A sharp pain suddenly shot through Yun Qi's heart. The hand she held the sword with had lost its composure for an instant. SHNK, the sword of absolute emotion, was abruptly withdrawn, drawing a spray of blood from Yun Qi's chest. In the next instant, its tip was pointed at his throat. Shen Wuyi looked down at him, her beautiful eyes endlessly cold, showing not a hint of emotion. "Are you trying to say you know my past?" "Yes." His injuries were worsening, and Yun Qi's breathing had become ragged, but his gaze was as unwavering as before. "I know everything about your past, your name, your homeland, everything you—" "So what?" Her indifferent, heartless words cut him off. The sword of absolute emotion moved a fraction closer to his throat. "My name is Shen Wuyi. I am the divine maiden of the eternal night god kingdom. This life was saved by my mother god, this body was bestowed by my mother god, and the rest of my life exists only for my mother god and the eternal night god kingdom." "What does the past have to do with me?" Her words did not cause the slightest bit of gloom in Yun Qi's heart. He looked into Shen Wuyi's seemingly eternally indifferent eyes, his weak voice carrying an unquestionable resolve. "In this entire world, besides yourself, I am the only one who truly understands you. Your existence possesses a nobility that transcends heaven and earth. How could you possibly let others manipulate you? How could you be content to serve under another? The mother god you speak of is nothing more than a pawn between your fingers. Even this god-slumbering forbidden domain is just a square on your chessboard." Shen Wuyi's gaze seemed to grow even more profound. She spoke coolly. "If those words are false, you have insulted me and my mother god, a crime deserving of 10,000 deaths. If they are true, then I have even more reason to kill you to silence you. Truly foolish." "Heh heh," Yun Qi chuckled, but this time his laughter was tinged with sorrow and self-mockery. "You're right, back then I was truly the height of foolishness. If I had been even just a little less naive and foolish then, how could I have caused you to suffer such a cruel fate?" Shen Wuyi. A cold wind suddenly rose, stirring her ink-black hair. She smiled, a very faint smile, yet one filled with endless mockery. "What a god-child of dream-weaving! You've truly opened my eyes. Just a day ago, at Eden's Cloud Summit, before the watchful eyes of all the kingdoms, you endured double the punishment of desolate gnawing for your heaven-folding divine maiden. It was truly moving heaven and earth, bringing tears to one's eyes. And now you're in front of me, a person with no memories, claiming me as your wife, putting on a show of deep affection that defies life and death. Even someone with a heart of ice like me is curious to know what a magnificent scene it would be if that heaven-folding divine maiden of yours were to witness this face you're making." As her words fell, Shen Wuyi's icy gaze still could not detect any ripple in his eyes. "I am not the god-child of dream weaving, nor am I the son of Meng Kongchen, much less a person of this world." Yun Qi's greatest secret in this world was spoken so directly, so calmly. The mockery at the corner of Shen Wuyi's lips slowly vanished, her eyes returning to a state of profound stillness. "You have been in this world for several decades. With your intelligence, you must have long since realized that you are not of this world. We come from the same world. We are truly husband and wife, and our fates were once deeply intertwined." He looked up, directly into Shen Wuyi's eyes, allowing her to see every glimmer in his own with perfect clarity. "You possess the one-of-a-kind glazed heart, one you are better than anyone at distinguishing truth from falsehood, good from evil. Can you truly not feel whether every word I speak is true or false?" "HMPH?" Shen Wuyi let out a cold snort, the mockery returning to her lips. "Glazed heart? To think the esteemed god-child of dream weaving would believe such a ridiculous rumor. The ice-snow glazed heart recorded in this world can not only distinguish truth from falsehood and good from evil, but is also said to be a pure heart, untainted by filth. Unfortunately, the person I see in my own eyes is extremely selfish and cold-hearted.